Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 27th episode of the ArtaCast. With a lot of stuff to talk about today, honestly. We have a lot of decklists from the weekend. We have some little announcements to make. We have some, how can I say that in English? Some deep talk, or how can I say that?
Did you say deep talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that would be right. Yeah, I guess
Okay.
we're gonna go back to a little bit of armchair psychology for the fans of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We enjoy it, and we hope you do too.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and some small little other stuff. Yeah, for me, I was in Ravensburg in the big tournament that was there, and I was happy with my deck and with my performance, I could say, but I did miss top card sadly very close with some really unfortunate games, but that happens. Had a 306 record in the end, which is not too bad, but not enough. Yeah, I was very disappointed, but I think still that I did everything I could do to prepare to have a good deck. I was not disappointed at all by the deck. And needed a little bit of more luck in some games to make it through. I mean, it's one game actually, and one game I got milled, for example, and stuff. Like, it was a bit disappointing, but yeah, it's like this in card games. Yeah, but we got some new decks and new insights with a lot of spicy decks making tournament wins actually, and we will take a look at it. LD, you didn't play a tournament, right, in the weekend, but you observed like what did go on in Lorcana world. What was your impressions of the meta game after the high
Yeah,
event?
so yeah, I was just watching. I didn't make it over to Ravensburg to play, which is a shame. But a few too many things happening a little bit too close to each other in life at the moment, so I wasn't able to do that. But it was a very good weekend for anyone watching tournaments and following coverage. Sort of streamed and otherwise a bunch of tournaments happening around, and like you say, a lot of very cool tournament winning lists of varying types. So we sort of expected going into the weekend it was going to be a pretty reasonably open meta game. I guess we maybe didn't guess it was going to be quite as open and unsolved as we thought. You remarked actually where you thought this weekend was going to shine more light on there are still some things to be solved. And I think you were probably very right there in the sense that it's not just it wasn't just that we saw like the same types of decks winning. These were almost in at least one case entirely new archetypes. So
Mm-hmm.
I think lots of surprises, but that's really
Mm-hmm.
cool and makes the format look even more open than it did before, which is great news. I think that in terms of solving, we're kind of a lot of the way there. We know most of the things that can be done, and it's really hard to tell from among those things like what's the most powerful. There are some things that are very represented and look pretty powerful, but yeah, let's maybe jump into some of these lists from the weekend because I
Mm-hmm.
think overall, now that we're kind of getting ready for set championships, there's a ton of playable stuff and that feels great. So yeah, do you want to start with your list or do you want to look at some of these
Let's start with
other
the. I
lists?
think the most surprising list was probably the winning list of Ravensburg actually, which was a
Mm,
500 player tournament, and it was actually won by a Chernadog deck uh, who just cooked Candle. No, I'm not. Then DKP, and then I think two Steel Songs and a Red Purple. It was crazy. You can't say he had a lot of competition. I mean, no, I'm not. And DKP is actually crazy to beat.
yeah.
Um,
It
and it's a Chernadog, and I don't know if any one of you saw the final match. It was, I can't explain. That was one of the craziest match I watched in Lorcana.
yeah.
It was insane. Like, how many cards this guy put on the table in one turn. Sometimes it was actually insane. And
Yeah.
Just showed not actually that this deck is not bad. It's very hard to play around the stuff that this deck can do, especially for
Yeah.
decks like Steel Song that can kill anything of these characters. I mean, it was a pain. I mean, if you were on the side of the Steel Song player, it was a pain to watch. Like they play Daisy Duck Nala Little John, and his Cindy can't do anything against all his characters. And then not long after that, there comes the first tramp, and then he just starts like cycling through the deck, and then plays his Chernadogs, Chernabox, and yeah. What was your impression of the deck?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked this deck from the kind of first iteration when people brewed it up. I thought it was really, really interesting, fun, different take on aggro that has a really high ceiling. Like that, like you say, there is actually quite a lot of skill expression here, more than you might think on the surface level. A lot of quite complicated lines, a lot of different ways to play your cards out in various matchups. There's, yeah, like I said, a lot more diversity to the way that you can play the deck. And at the time when we first saw it emerge, we kind of said this deck's really cool, but it fully dies to Sisu,
Yeah.
which is kind of still true. But
Yeah.
what's shifted is far fewer Sisus around. And I think such a when you register a deck like this for a tournament, I bet you're not planning on winning it. You're sort of thinking that maybe this has a good matchup. I could go quite far if I get the right bracket. I could, take people by surprise. Obviously, everyone on some level expects they want to go as far as possible. But I think just this level of success with a list like this that's so different is just awesome to see. So it was a ton of fun to watch. Like you say, I don't think I've ever seen that many cards in play before. If people didn't watch that game, I'm sure you can find a recording of it on the
You have to.
Disney Lorcana German Twitch page. We'll have the VOD at the very least. People have probably uploaded it to YouTube with English commentary and stuff by now, by the time you're hearing this at least. And a wild game that is well worth watching for everyone.
Yeah.
And you kind of, like you were saying, it's not just that none of the Steel Song's removal really impacted them. It was kind of like they were so free to do whatever. They couldn't set up like Rapunzel traps and stuff because everything is just O-force.
Yeah.
It's like nothing does any damage to their character on the way back other than like one. Like you maybe get one off a daisy or something. Really like a full like one of the most frozen boards you've ever seen.
The craziest thing was
because there was.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The crazy thing was there was this one turn where I think there was like 20 characters in play, and the Steel Song players played like they thought like 4 or 5 minutes, and it was not even slow play in my view. It was just you had to think about all these characters and how much lore they get and which trade you with what, and it was not even slow playing, and it still thought like 4 or 5 minutes. You can argue about Kach. There was a lot of in the chat like that slow playing, and but it's okay. I think in the final you can allow that to make him think that long. I mean, it was really not slow playing. It was It was okay. It was okay for me.
Yeah, it's a high stakes game. It's probably the most complicated board state anybody has ever seen, let alone the players in this match. I think we can afford them a 5-minute turn here or there. It's pretty extreme, but like the circumstances were also quite extreme, I think.
What I really liked is about the deck is like that it's not the matchup spread is, I think it's quite good because you have it was surprisingly good how resilient this deck is against steel, and that's usually the weak point of aggro decks, like and then against the other decks which are not steel, like the red decks or something, you have this hyper aggro game plan where you just try to close out the game fast enough so they can't. So you have against steel and non-steel really valuable game plan. that's capable of winning games. The craziest thing is, I don't know if you know it. He was interviewed after the game. He lost the first 2 rounds of Swiss in the first day. He started 0-4.
Whoa.
And then he crushed like 5 in a row and then 2 draws, and it was enough to make it.
Wow.
Wow. Imagine the most people would have probably dropped after 0-4
Yeah,
start.
O2 is a drop in most. That's a drop in most events of this size. Yeah.
And he did just and then he said like I just thought, okay, one more game, and then he won 5 in a row or something, and then crazy. And yeah, I think it's not easy to overcome this deck. And what I also thought, like, what was really impressing me is like the tramp. You have this tramp. You actually need 1 tramp, and it looks like it's high rolling very much, but it's not, because you need 1 tramp, and then you're cycling through your whole deck. I mean, he had his turns like tramp into Chernadog, but the high roll is not too much, because you draw like 5 cards or something with the tramp, so you need only 1 tramp and 1 Chernabog out of that. Like, that's not. It's a bit high roll, but it's not like crazy, because you're cycling so much.
Yeah, sure.
And that impressed me a lot, because it's not like this 1 out of 30 games stuff. It's like 1 tramp in your opening hand. You just land your 1 drops, which cannot be removed by anything if you don't exert them. And then you have a very reliable turn for tramp. And then you start this like turn 4, turn 5 Chernabog is very hard to overcome with any deck. I think it's not. That really impressed me. With still like this Rapunzel trap situations against any deck. So I also thought the Isma helps a lot, the 2-drop Isma, because you can have clunky hands, and the Isma can help that. To solve that a bit, like discarding your uninkables or the Lilos and stuff. I think he said after the tournament he would cut the Piglets and the Prince Philips to max the Gogos, he said, and maybe put in more Lilos, I thought, or something like that. Also, the Creaky was also great, because you can't race against this deck, because if you turn everything sideways yourself, then you just get blown up by this Creaky completely.
You get Crickied with a bunch of O4s. Yeah, it's pretty good. They live through every single trade. Yeah.
And so it was very tricky for the most decks to have a really good game plan against this. If they start with this 3 O4s, especially if you start with 3 O4s, that's what you want to do. And that impressed me a lot. And I think what you said, like, I don't want to take away credit from that. But if you're a new player, I think it's not too hard to play, because you said it's like you need to. I just want to say, it's not, if you're a new player. I wouldn't say don't play this deck, because it has an idea, and if you know how the idea works, it's quite. I don't want to say easy to execute, because he played very well. I don't want to take away anything from that, but I think the idea of the deck is, the simple idea of the deck is not too hard to understand to know what this deck tries to do. So I still think if you're a newer player and you like aggressive playstyles, I still would recommend something like this to learn, because you need a basic idea what this deck does, because then otherwise it does nothing. But if you get it a bit, then I think it's quite straightforward to execute, I think. I don't know how you see it.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of, I agree. I mean, in many ways, that's what you're looking for from whether, if you're sort of reasonably new, trying to transition into competitive play.
Yeah.
The perfect deck, I would say, is something like this that has a linear core plan that you can execute pretty reliably, And once you get a feel for how that works, you can start doing it consistently. And then alongside that, you also have a lot of skill expression and opportunities to play slightly differently and vary it, so that there is a reasonably high ceiling, and also the floor is quite high. So it's like, if all goes, even if you completely lost all decision making ability, you would still have a pretty serviceable hyper aggro plan here. That even if you completely lost the ability to use your tramps effectively and get Chernadogs into play, you could still curve out pretty well and have a, punish slow draws, that sort of thing. So the floor on this is actually pretty high, with still a lot of skill expression. So there's a lot of room for people that want to invest in learning the deck, and I think it absolutely is something that, for that kind of intermediate to competitive player, is something that could help you make that leap. It's got a lot of lines to learn, but once you've mastered a couple of them, you'll start performing pretty well. Which is like I say, kind of the dream for what you want from a deck is you can get good with it fast and still has scope to master it above that.
Yeah. And still Joel, a Swiss player, I think. He played very well. He played really well. I was really impressed how he played that out. He was very patient and everything, and patience is what you sometimes need with this deck, so not questing with everything and stuff, like set up your stuff and don't you also need a lot of math, some these tricky matchups, how racing works and stuff. Like it's still like you say, a lot of skill expression, but even without that skill expression against some decks, you have a straightforward game plan that works regardless.
Really cool. And massive congrats to this player. Awesome showing with a really awesome
he
deck.
Was also very humble, like he didn't like he was very cool. So shout out. Next deck we have Sailor. I want to make I want to show, because Sailor, if you hear this, it's a bit sad to see you joining the dark side of the Force, like, but you have to, like it's like anything. Anakin. Last time I said Anakin as well. This time too, like Anakin. They killed your whole family, and you have to find a new home and stuff, and it's like that here. But yeah, I think Taylor is a good enough player to play a lot of stuff, like, and can pilot that nearly perfectly. And he won a 128 player tournament. What's also
2K.
very big, with green steel. Honestly, like a very traditional build. I think there's nothing too special like here, but I still want to show the list to players and make a shout out to Sailor, and show the people that green steel is still a strong contender in the meta game, because many people are low on it. But I don't think it's that low. Sailor has said he felt unbeatable in the day, and I think if you mulligan correctly and if you make all decisions correctly, you can feel like that sometimes with this deck. And what do you say? I think it's very basic. I still like the Morph Beast line. Is very great right now. I think I would play that too. Bit surprised that I don't only see 3 morphs, but maybe just a deck space problem. Everything else, I think if I would play the deck, I would not change much. The only thing I would like to see is a 4th morph, but other than that, I think there's nothing to criticize here, I think.
No, this wasn't something that I wanted to talk about because of the deck was necessarily innovative. I mean, it's a super effective build of green steel that, like, if anybody is looking for their set championships to play green steel and they want to sort of see recent winning lists from big tournaments, like, good place to look. You could probably copy this card for card and be very confident in playing it. The reason I was eager to talk about it is because I think it's just really, really awesome to see a player like Sailor who, as we pointed out last week and the week before, was hit very, very severely by the bans. They hit an archetype that he was kind of like the namesake developer of, primarily, like when it first came to emergence, and then continued to push that archetype. That version of the deck taken a big hit. And with that comes all this sort of identity crisis and like, am I just the CC1 ice guy? Is that, is that all I'm gonna be? What do I do now, sort of thing? And I think like we know, the world knows, like he's an exceptional player, but it's just so nice to just see a completely different. This isn't some blue-red variant. This is an entirely fundamentally different deck that plays on a completely different axis. Still turn up to a massive tournament, still win. Like, you just have to draw attention to that, and like that there are a lot of very, very good players that I have deep respect for in the game. There aren't too many that can consistently perform while completely switching archetypes, right? Like the number is pretty low of people that you see doing that successfully. So like, I think you just got to give him his flowers on this one. It's a huge achievement, and like, awesome to see. And I just wanted to call that out because I think it's something worth celebrating.
Yeah, it impresses me a lot.
It's crazy. It's crazy when you think about it. Like, if you make me play like an Amber Steel deck or whatever, like you catch me in the 03 bracket getting dinner at 3 in the afternoon, sort of thing. Like that's what adapting is tough. We all have a comfort space, and stepping out of it is hard. If you can, that's really what separates like an elite player versus an archetype master, I think. And it's a tough thing to break out of, to go from master of one archetype to a true master of a game at that level. And it's a huge achievement when you can kind of show that you've got the chops to do that.
Yeah, and Sailor definitely has.
For sure.
Because the deck is very tricky to play. I think it's a very, very much you can do wrong, and he learned that in a very fast time. Because I don't think he played that deck a lot before the bans. I would guess no. I don't think he played that deck a lot. Yes. So shout out to Sailor. Great job.
Yep.
Keep going. And the next San did win also a big tournament, like 100 players won, I think. And what a crazy deck again. San is also one of these players. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only be impressed by that. It's amazing. And with what a pile this time. Like
I was just gonna say, as we transition into this one, speaking of players that can win a tournament with just any 60 cards.
Yeah, really. That's...
as long as they're holding 60-ish cards, like they'll win. It's I don't think this deck is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a wild one, right?
Yeah. And I need to see the deck in action to actually see its potential. I can absolutely not evaluate the deck when I see it here. I see some strong... I mean, it obviously has potential if he wins a 100-man tournament. I think a player can only achieve something, not with a Haufen that does nothing. Like there must be something there. There must be something to win a tournament, even if you're sense. And 1 or 2 sets ago, it was when Genie was revealed or was released. I remember when I thought the lamp has potential. Like I think we even talked about it in the postcard. I don't remember exactly. And he showed that, like, I mean, if you read the lamp, it's a very strong effect. If you have a character named Jafar in play, draw 2 cards. If you have a character named Gene in play, return chosen character with cost 4 or less to the player's hand. That's a lot of tempo for a 2-cost card. And I could imagine, I would need to talk with him, but I think it looks like a Jafar wheel deck. And it is. But I would guess like... but I know what I want to say. I guess he wins like 80% of his games without that. Like just questing with Smee and Cobra and Genie and stuff, and bouncing things with a lamp, and just finishing the game. With that high roll potential still available when needed with the whole new world. That's why you only see 3 whole new worlds, I think. Because you're not reliant on that. I think I would guess, because there's a lot of 2-questers and stuff in the deck, and I don't want to say necessarily aggressive stuff, but I mean Smee and Cobra and cards like that are still kind of aggressive, and also the Robin Hood shift. I could guess you get a lot of chip lore early game and stuff, and then you could close out games. I don't know how you see it.
For sure. Yeah, that's totally basically exactly what I was thinking. But I was sort of looking over the list and just thinking, it's really cool to see this Jafar, like the Jafar wheel archetype that basically people had declared mostly dead. What it looks like now, because I was actually having a conversation with some people this week about the lamp, and people like we were kind of saying, right, in Purple Steel, like we have multiple decent Jafars now. In the 3-cost one, that's like a mini crab. That's a very good playable card. The 3/2 evasive, the 3/2 that gets evasive on your turn for 2, very playable card into this heavy evasive metagame as well. And of course, Genie is Genie and is a great card in its own right. So the lamp, awesome to see it, because we were kind of lightly speculating that this might be ready to have its moment, and it looks like it is. The card that I think is really cool in it is Cobra. Like, because we've seen all these dock decks, like use Cobra, throw away your last card that isn't dock, and then dock on an empty hand. The same principle applies to like Whole New World, right? Which is, I can see that quite often you might have no big Jafar in play, and you just work your way down to having like a Cobra, a random card, and a Whole New World in your hand, and you play your Cobra, ditch your other card, gain 2 lore, wheel away using your Robin Hood or something, then play another Cobra, and you've just like that's 4 lore out of nowhere and probably closes a lot of these games. There is lots of I guess I'm just seeing lines where you Cobra gain 2, wheel into your next Cobra and stuff like that, and you actually end up having a ton of reach between that and the Jafar. Tools to control the game, huge amount of reach. Like it just makes sense. I can totally see how this wins stuff, but like you say, I think it's probably less all in on Whole New World than the deck used to be, which is a good thing, because that was like its weakness, was you Ursula away its wheel, and then they're like, cool,
next
what
game.
now? Yeah, we go next.
And the lamp, I could guess there are some really crazy spots where you play. I mean, if you have
when
both,
good, it's got to be so good.
Yeah, like you play this, bounce the Iago or Genie or stuff, and draw 2 cards. Like, what is this? It's crazy, and I don't think you need that much then to. I mean, you draw also 2 cards. Like, I mean, it's just a lot of stuff. Then a lot of tempo. That's a crazy tempo play, and why should that not be good?
Yeah.
And I could see the struggle against Steel Song though, probably quite a lot. But he still plays Pete's, yeah. It's not completely lost or something, but
it's not like a format breaker that randomly comes out of nowhere and has incredible matchup spread into everything. It still has a couple of tough matchups, I imagine, but it's a very playable deck into the sort of field we have at the moment. It looks like, and the trouble with Zan is he seems to be able to make anything look very, very good. So at some
Yeah.
point you start thinking, what would I be able to do with this?
Yeah.
maybe not as much as him. But he's consistently turning up at these tournaments with like really innovative builds and consistently winning again. So yeah, like we were talking about before, that the ranks of players who are truly exceptional and versatile players, he's amongst it for sure, and just proves it again with another big win, with something else that at first glance looks like a crazy choice, but you break it down, it starts making a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good conclusion. Like, I would probably try something out like this. I'm interested in.
Yeah,
And this
give
deck,
it a
how
go.
it
I'd like to
performs.
hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Let's talk about my nonsense now. No.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just want to shortly show all of you my deck list that I played in the Ravensburg tournament, because I still, although I didn't make day 2 make not sound that too appealing for people, but I'm very, very high in the deck still. I think it's very strong. I lost a lot of. I got crushed in nearly no game. I think I had so many close games. I lost against like one I was on 19 Lord, and against 2 red blues. I mean, I'd lost no game. I drew them then. Where once they top deck the Pirates Live and the other be prepared against the Steel Song. I got milled, and the Green Steel match, the one maybe you saw that on the stream, that was also very, very frustrating. Like they P chained, and then it was very, very unfortunate. But yeah, I think that's the nature of the game. Sometimes I just needed one more lucky game, and then I would be in. I just wanted still to point out that I'm really high on the deck, and I think it has a great matchup spread if you play it correctly. And if you look for a deck that is for set championships or something, I just can recommend it, and wanna show you my thoughts on the deck. I think that could still be interesting for the people. Maybe the standout cards here are Rafiki for many people, because Rafiki didn't see much play. He was MVP the whole day. I can tell you that it was crazy good. He prevents so many things from questing. He trades spells, for example. Also, he trades Kamatala. That's also meaningful sometimes if she sings. And even against Steel Song, you could say, people said like he gets stormed, Cindy stormed. First of all, I don't know. They don't have always Cindy storm, but even if they have it, I play him turn 2. They Cindy storm it, and turn 3 I usually have Peter Pan. So I don't think that's a huge downside of a 1-drop if it has only 2 strength in this deck, because you can then delay it on turn 2, and then on the draw. On the play you can play it on turn 1, because then they storm it on turn 2, and then you are on turn 3 and can kill it. But on the draw you delay it, and if they don't open with Cindy Storm, it prevents a lot of stuff from questing. I had one game against Steel Song where I opened with 2 Rafikis. They stalled the whole game. It was really, really crazy good, and I can only recommend it, because a lot of other 1-drops have no impact at all. I mean, we are not a deck that races anymore, and so it doesn't mean anything against red blue or something if you open with Chernadog, or you outvalue every deck. That's the goal of this deck. And you set up stuff like Peter Pan and Shark is absolutely busted as a combo in itself. And if you manage to have 2 Peter Pans in one game, for example, you basically lock out so many stuff what your opponent can do. He basically can't quest anymore with anything, because he has always been aware of the Shark, and it's so easy to get advantage with this deck. And the only weakness of the deck, I have to admit, is like if you have the advantage, you are sometimes durdling around a bit. Like not you need to close out the game a bit. You don't have that much reach, but in my testing I found out that reach is in this deck. It sounds weird, but reach is kind of win more a bit with this deck, because you need 2 or 3 more turns, but it doesn't mean that much because you have so much advantage then, and then you dawdle a bit around, and it doesn't mean much if you have the advantage. That was my testing, so I try to maximize the potential of getting advantage, at least to get the advantage, and then if I have the advantage, then you need a few turns, but it doesn't mean. I mean, you have still reach with 2-3 pirates live and stuff. It's not that that you have no reach, but sometimes you could have some golds, would be cool or something. But I think it's the big downside of the deck. It's just if in a 3-game format, for example, there would of course play 3 or 4 golds, because I was in time. I a lot of times actually on the day, and it is it's still the deck, like every win is like a hard work, you could say, and the losing games can be sometimes, but I only had one game was really not close, where Steelsong wheeled me with 3 preps, and that's happening sometimes, and then you lose. I still think because on the most evasive list I saw Genie in favor of Rabbit. I'm really, really convinced that Rabbit is still better than Genie. Even after the tournament, I outvalued so many people, and I wouldn't change much. The only thing I would maybe change are the Iagos did nothing the whole day, so I would maybe cut the Iagos and play 2 golds or something. Or maybe cut even 1 more Finders Keepers to play a gold. Like a few golds or a few more locations I would like to get in here. That's just my insight from the weekend. Do you have anything?
Nice. I think it's like this version of Red Purple is certainly contesting for tier 1 at the moment. I think there's probably about 3 decks, kind of like we said last week, that are fighting for that position. You've got some cool choices here that I think make a lot of sense. I was just laughing looking at the list, not because I think any cards are bad, but because you always send me Dreamboard links in German, and then they get auto-translated when I open them, and all the cards are like basically perfectly translated, except I just got down to the actions, and you've got 4 copies of Friends in the Shadow Realm, and 2 copies of Whoever Finds It Can Keep It. I was like, what is that card? Oh, okay. Actually, I know exactly what that card is. So I was trying to piece that together for a moment. But I think a lot of these choices, they make a lot of sense. And I was also just thinking, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Remember when Shark first got spoiled? That this was basically the first shell we tried to put it in. Way before we were thinking about Red Blue or anything.
Absolutely.
The first thing we thought was Shark and Peter Pan, it's busted. And then it wasn't. But somehow now it is. I don't.
It was holding back by Red Blue still. Peter Pan was so bad into Red Blue that you couldn't play him because of just his uninkability. Like, you need to play something meaningful on turn 3 against them. And if it's no hand-size Seesaw or something, you have this clunky nonsense card in your deck that gets Seesawed and was actually losing you the game a lot of times if you play that into Red Blue. So you could maybe play him as a 1 or 2 off as a tech card, but not as a 4 off and not as your game plan, because it did absolutely nothing against
that was the issue.
And that's gone away now. And Peter Pan I'm even higher on it after the tournament. It covers so many things. It covers Diablo. It covers Cindy. It covers against Red Blue. You play him turn 3. It's so great because he can sing then Friends, and then the Shark is frozen, and it covers everything. It covers so much that's why he's so good right now, because he covers so much. He covers your Diablo weakness and the Cindy weakness and the Red Blue weakness. So it's everything in one card, like, and then you have this high roll potential with the shark. So I played this combo and think, who? Yeah, I mean that's yeah, but who is so stupid and doesn't play this combo? Right, right. That's what I thought so often. Like on the day, like this is unfair. This is unfair. That's what I thought very often. Because even the threat, that's what I always want to point out. It's like Rafiki. People need to evaluate a card. You need to just as a general tip for me to evaluate a card. You need to see all the sides of the card. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like if I would write down every lore which Rafiki prevented on the day, like that's so much that's so much for a one drop that can no other one drop provide. Like if it prevents. If it prevents, I don't know everything like Smee, Kaloons, I don't know everything from questing. That's you need to add that to the value of a card, but it's not like you don't see that. You don't see that like obviously. I don't know how to explain it. Like they don't quest, and these not questing things is you need to add that to the value of the card, especially for a one drop. How much value can a one drop have? And for Peter Pan himself, the same. If they don't quest anymore, that's so much value for a card. Like you win the race then very often. Like because yeah, and that makes it very powerful for me. And yeah, like you said, I think it's probably undoubtedly for the most people that it's a high contender for the meta game. You could play around with some numbers. For me personally, I think you need to maximize the potential of these two, like for Peter Pan, for Shark, and you need to play rabbits, if you ask me. And the rest is you can play with Finders Keepers without. You can cut brawls, but it's risky. You can play even no, I'm not play castles instead of library. Makes a lot of sense because it's like if you are ahead, it closes games way faster than library. So that makes a lot of sense too. And the two drops are also like, no, I'm not played, for example, the Lumiere. Yeah, it's debatable. And for the one drops, I don't think you have to run Rafiki, but I think it's good. And yeah, there are some slots you can talk about, but I still think you can't do much wrong when you play this deck. But it needs a lot of understanding from the game and a lot of practice, I think, to pilot it well, I think. And you have no how to win games. That's the downside for a big tournament, I have to admit. Like you don't have these no-brainer wins. Like like I open Triple Murphy and can think about the next game already. Like that you don't have, and that's you could see that as a downside, and I totally understand when you see it like that. But yeah, I'm high on it. Yep.
Yeah, nice. And I think that's probably actually a pretty good point to transition us into the next kind of topic that we had lined up, if you're happy with that.
Yes, we can. Shall I start, or will you? What do you start? Just.
Well, I'll jump in because I'm hopefully going to lead this bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess this is like a perennial topic that comes up from time to time, but it is something that we have a habit of doing that I think is really worth doing in a meaningful way, which is like a little bit of armchair psychoanalysis through the lens of, like, this time focusing on mindset and mental health as a tournament grinder.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you what means actually? I don't know what it means. Like armchair. What does it mean, armchair?
Oh, it means like amateur, like
amateur.
Like,
okay, amateur. Okay.
But you say like the phrase in English is an armchair expert, which is basically someone who sits in their chair and talks like an expert. So like there are lots of armchair football experts. They sit there watching football on TV and they know more than the manager, and they know, they talk like they know everything when really they're not qualified at all.
Okay, I understand. Yeah.
So so that's the origin, and that's like I'll talk like I know it, like I understand anything about how the human brain works, but I don't. I just have one, and I know what it feels like to have one, and then so that leads me to think I know.
You
That
have
leads
a
me to think I know
good
everything
one.
about it.
You don't need to
No,
defend
thanks.
it.
It works from time to time. But yeah, I mean, we might as well be transparent. People seem to kind of appreciate our honesty and stuff. Where you finished in the tournament this weekend, it's a good record. It's a very positive win rate. You know, you played a total of 18 games. You won 12, lost 6 for 3 total wins and 6 total draws. No 0-2 sets, but you were still pretty disappointed. Is that fair to say?
Very disappointed, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
So
course, yeah.
I think that's an experience that like a lot of people can connect to. There are a ton of people who are sort of playing at this level, which on paper is significantly above average. Like if you look at the win rates of the most successful TCG players, nobody is over time is really pushing any higher than like 70%, that sort of thing. Um, all aggregated across all of their games. It maybe the data is different for Lorcana. I'm more using reference points that I remember from Magic, that sort of thing back in the day. But if you thought that across all of these high level tournament games, you were kind of winning around 70% of games, you could consider yourself an extremely successful player. But on the day, that isn't enough. You can't simply win that many. You have to win more. It has to go unbelievably well for you in a big format to cut through. So I wanted to have a little chat about like expectations and just frank open conversation, because I think over the past year or so I've had some bad feelings with this as well. And I guess my first question for you to think about is, what do you expect of yourself when you turn up to a tournament like the Ravensburger one this weekend? What is your expected outcome?
Mm, it changes, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
from time, because I was disappointed as well in the DLCs. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought this time I have to make it, like to. I know I'm too rude on myself, but to live up my reputations or something. Like people, I'm always afraid that people think I'm not good enough anymore or something. But I think that that's a problem that maybe some other, yeah, popular, or how can I say, players have too. Like
Mm.
I probably wouldn't be that pressured that much if I would not be known or something,
Mm-hmm.
and I could change my expectations more freely. But I think my expectation is day 2. That's my expectation.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes total sense. And I actually, rather than following up on what your expectation is, the bit I want to talk about is what you just said about like the pressure from being a known player. Because I think for me, playing TCGs for many, many years at different, it's kind of like casually competitive for most of it, trying to break through into that higher level of competition, to mixed success. The feeling I always had was, once I get a big finish at a tournament, once I prove that I'm this good, then I've done it and it's proven. And the lived reality was very, very different. I felt like that for approximately 2 or 3 hours, and then came the crushing weight of needing to maintain it. If I don't do this again, everyone will discover I'm a fraud, right? They will discover that it was chance, that one thing that would to me was, I'd set it up in my mind as, I am proving that I'm proficient at this, and actually now I have to prove it wasn't a fluke. I have to, and that pressure is far greater than being the underdog trying to break in, right? Because the underdog, your expectation is always lower. I'm trying to do this, but I'm accepting it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Then comes the, well, you've done it. Why can't you do it again? Just do it again. Like,
Yeah.
and that is really what I struggle with. Is that feeling kind of connects with you as well?
Yeah, of course, of course. It's funny when I sometimes talking with my family or something, with my mother or something, and then and I called with her today, and then how was the tournament the weekend, and then I said it wasn't very good. I didn't make the too, and then I mean she thinks it's like football or something. She, hey, are you not? I think you're so good. So she doesn't mean that rude, but I think you're so good. And it's like you don't reach top 64. I think you were you ill or something, or and then yeah, she doesn't understand. And that's it's no harm, but it's but that's exactly how I feel. Yeah, I feel it probably is a bit like that. You need to maintain that. Yeah, you need to maintain. At some point, there must be success. I mean, you can like maybe 2 or 3 tournaments, but at some point there must be success again, or you fall out of how can I say, out of your reputation that you had.
It's like, I think for a lot of people, they think of it as falling out of relevance. It's like
relevance,
suddenly people respected me for this, but now I have to maintain it or it goes away. And I just wanted to say that the experience you've just described, talking to your mum, is also like so it resonates with me unbelievably clearly. The worst feeling that I've had from all of this since, like, having some decent results in this game, and we have a podcast with a decent audience, people listen to us and they are super nice to interact with and everything, and it certainly got to this point of like being known in a community more than I ever expected. The worst part of all of it is speaking to my partner's friends, and they are like, they know nothing about TCGs at all, but they're all lovely people and they're so supportive, and they get the base idea of what I do. They get the basic idea that I attend these tournaments of this thing. They understand it's difficult and that it's a hard thing to become like a proper expert in, and they are really like genuinely happy for me when I have success. But then there's been times when I've like gone to someone's birthday party or something and gone to see them maybe shortly after a tournament, and then they're like, "Oh, you went to that thing, didn't you? How did you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I did bad." And they just go, "What? I thought you were really good. Like, what? No, everyone told me you were good. Why didn't you win?" And then you're in a conversation with someone that's never played a TCG, trying to explain the concept of variance, and so you're desperately defending yourself and being like, "No, you can't win everything because actually sometimes there are factors outside of your control. And all as a good player I'm really doing is maximizing my chances of doing well when things already go right for me." And you're just sitting there spewing words, and they're thinking, "This guy is a real fraud. He was never good at this." And I feel myself cracking, like, "Oh no, it's all falling apart. It's all falling apart." So that resonates
So
super
they
clearly
think
with me.
it must be either skill or luck. So
Yes.
what it must be one of them. Like, and you explain yourself that it's no skill. So you explain it's only luck. So your achievements don't mean anything. Like,
Precisely. That's exactly what happens. It's a bit like how I imagine poker players are perceived. Like, people, there aren't too many people that understand that poker is a game of high skill, that's decision intensive, and has a luck element. You can make mathematically correct choices and still get like sucked out and lose. But people tend to perceive it in a polarized way of poker is gambling or poker is chess, right? It's neither of those things. And
for
the
me,
TCGs exist in the same place. They're not one or the other.
For me, poker has a lot of more skills that you can't learn. I have to say. Like there must be like, I don't know, like you have to feel it. Like I can't explain it. Like it has a lot of skill, but nothing you can like mathematically. In TCGs, you can more say what's mathematically right in some circumstances. Like this is the right play. Not in all, but because you can also make a lot of mind games and stuff that people underuse in my opinion. But in poker, there's a lot of stuff like you can't say objectively this is right or this is right. You just have to bluff and stuff like
Yeah, there's a lot of that. But I think that makes it a little hard for people outside the sphere to understand. But when you are in that sphere and trying to basically, I had this small revelation. I don't. It might be a complete nonsense thought, but I had this thought about TCGs and competition in TCGs, and it's the pricing varies. We've been lucky in Lorcana that we have exceptional pricing based on the aftermarket values of a lot of these promos. People have been able to make a fair bit more money in this game when the DLCs were running than they might have been able to for similar performances in other games. Not all games are that fortunate, but no, I can't remember where I was going with that. I just lost my train of thought thinking about pricing.
you
I just completely zoned out. I just lost my head thinking about where my head was.
You talked about you said there's a thought that you don't know if it actually makes sense.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you for getting me back on track. Yeah. So you are competing. Yeah. You're competing for pricing, which can vary game to game. We've been lucky; it's been pretty good. But actually, when it comes down to it, a lot of people are competing for. I bundle them together: respect and validation. You want to feel like this thing you poured lots of time and effort into, that you're validated in that it was worth the investment, whether monetarily or sort of respect wise. You were able to get to a point where people thought that person is good at that thing. The time they invested in it was worthwhile. They got that, whether it's respect or financial reward, whatever it is, you got that out of it. And on the respect side, we're kind of all competing for a pretty shallow pool of respect. It's like it's a zero sum thing. There is only respect to be earned if like you also as a player are providing that respect to other players, and that's just to say not everyone does that. So you're trying to prove yourself in a world where not everyone will even respect you if you do win. When I kind of thought about that, I've kind of helped refocus me a little bit on, at the core, what I wanted to get out of playing this game when I started. And this sounds really, I don't know, I think it sounds silly now to reflect on, but my goal, the only goal I had when I started playing this game was that I really would like to make some new friends. I like the connection that comes with playing TCGs in person. I got into my 30s, where this probably resonate with a lot of people listening. Your life starts to move on a bit. Some of your friendships die off. You get into you start transitioning into the mid stage of your life where people are settling down and maybe some of your connections drop off a little bit. And I was getting to that point in life, and I just thought, I loved playing TCGs when I was younger. I loved the connection and socialization that gave me. I would like to make new friends. So there was no pressure. I thought I will just do that and see. As it turns out, I've made some amazing friends. Like the result of that, by that metric, is like more than I could have ever anticipated. And then you start winning and everything changes, and it all went out the window. And I thought, I don't care about that. I just want to win. I want the respect. I want
What
people
do I
to
do
think
with
I'm good at
friends?
this. Yeah, exactly. I can't buy anything with friends. And the point where I've landed at,
But
and I'm keen to
that's
get
I
your
just want to say that's
yeah,
really cool, and
yeah,
it's far away. I think if people listening, this is far away from silly, like you say. It's such a cool. I didn't expect you from saying that was that was a goal for you from the game. That's really cool. I think for many people to hear that. Yeah, that's really cool. I think. Yeah, just wanted to say.
I think it's probably true for a lot of people though, which is that you can be a competitor in this game, and your primary thing, you still are primarily doing it because you enjoy the social aspect of it, which is for a lot of people why this period of low competitive events has proven so difficult, is that the way you engage with the game has to change, and you don't have those big meetings where you're likely to see these people you like every couple of months, and yeah, it shifts a little bit. But yeah, all of this is really just to say that the place I've landed at that feels healthy is that I play this game to continue engaging with my friends and to make new ones. And that is what I've decided as the important outcome. If I lose tournaments, it's fine, because the actual reason I'm at that tournament is to see these people that I like. And that's true. That's not me coping. I'm not just being like, oh, well, I never cared about that tournament. Like, that is... Of all the experiences I've had, none have been more fulfilling than the specific just interactions with people that I like. Right? Like, I've had some tournament success. I've met nice people. Nothing feels better than hanging out with the friends after the games. So that's like the primary focus for me. And I guess what I'm trying to achieve by going through that now is helping you to feel that and to refocus on the things that put the pressure on you that you were mentioning, like the reputation and everything, that makes you feel more stressed when you don't do as well as you thought in a tournament, that fear that you won't be as respected. That exists because people love you. Like, people in this community that really like you. It sounds too strong. Like, people shy away from that word, but the sentiment is you're well liked and people respect your opinions and also just like to listen to you and engage with you. And that puts pressure on, but it's already it's already an incredible measure of success. So I get I'm trying to I'm hoping that this is making you feel better and not making you feel loads worse.
No. It's very kind. It's very kind, and I totally appreciate it. I think the people, how can I say that? It's I'm feeling that goes very deep now.
Okay.
And people don't know maybe how sad I was or how disappointed I was. I was really I had a really enlightenment. How can you say that? When I had my interview with, by the way, Slash is a very great German content creator. Please shout out to Slash. Wenn ihr Deutsche seid, bitte guckt alles an von Slash. Das ist so ein cooler deutscher content creator. Shout out. He made an interview with me and said like, you played very well, Artabax, but what impresses me the most is how you deal with losses. that you are so cool with losses. Like, you lose and then you think, oh, come on, let's go. I think I'm the worst person of the world with losses. Really, I am. Not the worst people of the person of the world, but you know what I mean. And I totally get. And what I think is the worst. I mean, that's what I want. It goes so deep because I speak with my wife, and she tells me I'm silly. But I think I'm a very, very. I have a very bad character trait. I think all of the time then, because I'm not able. I was there with my team, and 3 of them made top cut, and I didn't, and I was not able to be happy for them. I was maybe a bit, but I was not able to like come to them and hey, nice and congrats and stuff. It was overshadowed by my loss, and it's all the time like that. And I hate that about me. And maybe I'm too hard on myself or something like. But I hate that about myself really much, and I would like to change that. But maybe what you said helps me a bit like that. And but I just want to point out it like I think for people it's cool to know if. Cause I seem like I don't care. It's not like I don't care, you know. It's really not like that. And for other people, it's like that too. So if you feel bad when you lose or something, it's something that some people have. But all what you said makes a lot of sense to me. And I yeah, I tried it all the time to get better in that, because I don't know if you saw my, if you would have seen my last games, maybe I did see did misplay some games. I was so nervous. I can't explain. Like, I really need to make it this time. I really need to make it this time. I really need to make it this time. I know it's stupid. I know, but like, and my wife watched me one of the games, and I missed. And it's probably like can decide some games. Like, I missed one law from the location one time and stuff, and she was very angry then, because she like, just be focused and play for the game and don't think too much about that. And and I missed law from the location and stuff. And I drew one time no card when my shark died at a location and stuff. And then yeah, and that's maybe that's also a deciding point sometimes. And I need to be more professional then. And then it's like a devil circle. Like, you want to be more professional, and by exactly want that, it gets worse. You know what I mean? Like, and then yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know what I even want to tell you with that, but it's just yeah, I don't know. It's like, I think it's just valuable for the people that to hear some thoughts from some known players, like what they have in mind when they play big tournaments.
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah,
But I think you make a really good point there, which can kind of help us wrap this bit up, because I'm aware it was a little bit sort of directionless, but I really wanted to talk. It's worth exploring these feelings, and it will be interesting to people. And you might think, oh well, it's because it's not complaining. It's just human emotion. It's just you felt a thing, and people will be able to resonate with that. But the thing I wanted to talk about, what you just said, it's like it is a vicious circle. The more you want it, sometimes the less likely you are to get it, and it can go too far. You can work too hard. You can test too much and learn too much about the weaknesses of your deck, in my opinion. Not everyone will agree with that. Because you get to this point where you know so much, and you're fearing such situations that your mind is too busy to perform to the level it needs to. Based on what you just said, it's like you get nervous, you put pressure on yourself, you must perform to this level. Well, basically, the pressure that you put on yourself has led you to make mistakes that you would never normally make outside of that. And it's like this, whatever the opposite of a self-fulfilling prophecy is, it's like you almost make it impossible for yourself to do it by telling yourself it must be possible. And that's something that a load of people, I'm sure, will get, and will find it reassuring to know that players of your caliber are experiencing it as well. But the other thing, just to wrap it up, was what you were saying about not being in a place to kind of fully celebrate your teammates' successes. I think there's a big difference between being sad about how your day went, and so you don't have the energy or mindset to give a full celebration, and not being happy for them. You were very happy for them, but you weren't in the. You're very happy for these people. It's not like you were jealous and feeling like, why them and not me? It's that you were disappointed in yourself, so you didn't have the energy to run over and lift people up and and all that. The one thing I would say to anyone is, when you find yourself in that position, and you will, because if you make friends through this game, you will inevitably lose tournaments to those friends, and you will also see those friends perform better than you. Try really hard to dig the energy up for celebrating them, because I think in our minds we think that when we win something, or when we do really well, there is going to be this huge fanfare, and often there isn't. You get to the end of the day, it's you in an empty tournament hall, because everybody else finished their tournament and went home, and Actually, you maybe have one or two people there to say, like, to pat you on the back and say, well done. And you're given your prizes and you shuffle off and you move off with your life and you think, oh, I really thought that maybe there would be some sort of parade for me or something. This was going to be bigger than that. At the end of the day, the people, that feeling, it happens like when your friends lift you up. And it only happens when people... Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is every person that does that for you and celebrates you when you were the player on top is fighting through their own disappointment to do that for you. And you need to hold that and and realize that all those times that you've been lifted up, it was by people who hadn't done as well. So find the courage to do that and find the energy to do it, because if everyone stops, the experience becomes miserable for everyone. And all we can really hold on to in games like this is that feeling when it was our moment and our friends were behind us and we felt amazing because we were celebrated. So it's like, yeah, my view is like we all have a duty to make those moments for each other, because if no one does, then it's actually a really unfulfilling experience, way more than we expect. Yeah, so yeah, celebrate the homies.
Yeah, that's true.
Is the conclusion of that rambling rambling chat.
Yes, I think that was cool. Yeah, what do we have else left for today? We want to... What do we wanted? We wanted to do something. I forgot.
We got a couple of bits. I want to talk about the challenge on Twitter that I posted this week. Yeah. So if people following me on Twitter, as I kind of alluded to at the end of the last episode, I'm giving away a foil D23 Mickey. I have it here. I can very briefly show it, but yeah, nice one of these from the D23 set. It's a very pretty card. Giving it away on Twitter to a random person who takes part in what I've called the Haufen challenge, which is basically the as you'll see when you have a look, it's to take a Haufen deck, a nice pile, something with lots of unique cards, something that's like a 3+ liner on Dreamborn, something with a lot of ideas and not a lot of streamlined nature. Some a messy deck, basically.
Haufen means not exactly pile. It's like in Germany we have two words for pile. Like one for the sorted one. That's like that's a Stapel, yeah. And the unsorted one, the wild one. That's a Haufen. Like just to make to explain that to the viewers, like the Haufen is completely unsorted, wild, a wild pile. That's a Haufen. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, when I actually translated the word, I saw that the direct translation isn't pile, it's heap, which I think does make sense with what you just said, because in English we would never really say like I have a heap of something that was organized, right? A heap is rarely organized. It's just a big dumped pile of something.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have a heap of rocks in your backyard, but you don't have like a neatly arranged heap of cards.
Yes.
Like this here would be a pile of cards.
That's a Stapel. Yeah, that's a Stapel.
Yeah.
But
a heap would be the same thing all over the floor. So yeah, maybe heap is better than pile, which is a very long-winded way of saying the decks we're looking for are messy piles. If you want a hard and fast description of what qualifies a Haufen, I've said something with at least 24 unique cards in it, which takes you to the end of 3 lines on Dreamborn. Get over that 3-line threshold. I'm calling it a Haufen. You decide how you do that. But this is basically go ahead.
Yeah, I have some questions about that. Like
go ahead.
Because you can cheat a bit. Like
who would do that? You.
If you play like Olaf, Myrtle, Flynn Rider, all the 1/3s of a color, and all as a one-off, do you allow that, or is it cheating?
It's a good question. I think that I'm going to say that's allowed I think people will understand what is in the spirit of what's in the spirit of the challenge. I think that if you're doing that, great, because that enables you to go really crazy and make these things look. When you lay your deck list out in the end and you can't fit every card on your playmat, that's what we're going for. That's the magic moment. This is like cards spilling everywhere. It makes no sense whatsoever. That will enable you to really push the limit, right? That's it's only by doing things like that that you would get to like a 5-line deck list when things have really gone too far. So yes to that, but I think when it comes to picking a winner, I will sort of, it's going to be randomized, but then if something was really not in the spirit of it, like if it's just stock red purple with one of every one drop, maybe that's not so much in the spirit as some other things. I want to see one-ofs all the way up the curve. Or like the whole deck is just max 2-ofs or something. It's as I was posting the tweet about the challenge, I kind of thought in my head, I haven't really thought this out very well. I don't have a clear definition of what I'm looking for. I have to trust that people will understand the vibe of
But you will see the list and then you will declare if it's correct or not, you can say.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the basics of the challenge, take this messy deck with a bunch of unique cards in it, lots of different one-ofs, win your set championship, and I want to see a picture of your deck laid out on your winning mat, and then tag me on Twitter. That's at Lorcana Decks, and I'll pick from the winner. We'll do that at the end of set championship season. I'm looking at this as a way for people to give themselves a fun, slightly different challenge at some of their set championships. Set championships mean different things for different people. For some, they're like the pinnacle. That's the high point of their competitive experience. They play locally, they compete in championships. They wouldn't travel to DLCs. I don't really see this as being for that player, because I think for them it's important that they push their deck as far as they can. It's more for your seasoned grinder that wants to give themselves a new challenge, try something different, or for your kind of excited deck builder who just wants to flex that they can win with a wild pile of cards, right? And yeah, they're basically saying, all of that is to say, please don't attempt this if the spirit of it isn't what you're looking for from set championships. I don't want to take that away. Please do compete. It's a competitive setting and is a lot of fun for that. Don't intend to undermine that in any way. But if you fancy issuing yourself a new challenge, please do step up. I do have a very nice card to give away to one lucky winner at the end of the day. So I'm hoping that people will give that a go.
Yeah, I'm absolutely into it. I can just say I'm into it. I'm totally into it. I'm so hyped. And I will compete. I don't want to be into that pool of because it would be weird if you pick out me then. So, Artabax won.
Yeah.
So
that might feel like an inside job. Yeah.
So like I don't want to be in that pool, but I will be part of it, and I will every set championship play a Haufen. And I'm absolutely excited. And the only thing I'm afraid of is that the decks I built are better than my regular ones. And I did stupid deck building like 2 years now. Because the decks are so versatile and stuff that you have like more options and stuff, and actually have a better deck than playing a 2-liner.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scared that I've spent the last 2 years basically trying to engineer variance out of a game that inherently has variance in it. Yeah. Everything is optimized for consistency, and that I'm going to discover that was a really horrible choice the whole time, and you should have just been playing one-off silver bullets and drawing them at the right time. And we'll see. Maybe we learn that everything we knew is wrong, and we should have been going wild the whole time.
I'm so excited for Haufen. I'm really excited for that, and I appreciate that you do it. That's a very good idea for many people. I think I could see a lot of high competitive players be part of it, like just to see, yeah, like you say, as a challenge, like to because as you say, like you said in the beginning, like for us, how can I say that? We don't go to a set championship and think, oh, like it's like um we should do good, and then it's not a good outcome to do actually good because that's just the anticipated thing. And then with Haufen, it's a new challenge. Like, can I actually do good with this? And then it's very cool. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I think it's partial. It's like self-serving a bit for me because I think often at that kind of set championship level, I tune out a little bit because I think there are some, not every game. I've got fortunate enough to have a pretty competitive local scene, a lot of good players, but there are some games you tune out of a bit and you think, you go on autopilot, you think, I should be winning this, so you just start executing everything basically without thinking. And pretty soon that leads to some mistakes. And then all of a sudden you're really, really disappointed in yourself because this was like something you absolutely should have, in your mind, you built it up to like, well, I should have won that game or I should have won that tournament, whatever it is. So I think that actually setting yourself a challenge at deck building level forces you to be sharper and thinking because you know you're up against it. You know that what you're playing with isn't optimized, but still has the potential to win. But only if you're right there with it, and you've got to be switched on like it's day 2 of a DLC. And I'm excited to try. Yeah.
Imagine you play at the Haufen in a DLC and you actually reach top cut. You go into open deck list, your opponent sees your deck list, and he actually has no idea what he can do. He does. It's actually a surprise thing. He don't know his game plan at all because he doesn't know your. If you don't know your game plan, your opponent doesn't know at all.
That's really next level gameplay. They can't read my mind if I don't have a mind. It's just quick lobotomy. There's no brain. Now what are you gonna do?
You can't read me. You can't read me.
Exactly. I'm unreadable.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, pretty advanced gameplay. Yeah. So yeah, that's going on. If people want to get involved, that's going on Twitter. You'll find that on my page. That's at Lorcana Decks, and yeah, it's all clear there how to get involved. As I've said, hopefully see some of that over the coming weeks, and hope that people find it fun.
Yeah. Nice. What else? Do we have something else left?
Well, we've got our card reveal next week.
Yes, next week. Can't really be excited for that.
Yeah, which means for people that we might be publishing later in the week than expected.
Yeah. Probably Thursday, Friday, or something like that.
Yeah, Thursday is when you could expect the next week's episode to go up. So maybe a short gap. But yeah, if you are one of the lovely people that seem to wait for us to post, which is extremely flattering to know that people do that, then yeah, we might be a little later in the week, but we'll be there with the card reveal on, I want to say the 8th. Is that what I said?
Yeah, I think it was the 8th, yeah.
Which will come just after, well, that'll be 2 days after whatever this big announcement is that we've got coming.
Yeah, I mean, people are already rumoring what this could be. Yeah, could be a lot of stuff. I think I don't know if it makes sense to speculate what it will be. Maybe it's like DLCs probably, or worlds stuff, like maybe rotations stuff. I don't know. Probably some new set stuff too. Yeah, what do you expect?
Yeah, I think at a bare minimum, we get set 8 reveals and date and information for Worlds, I would say, because Worlds has got to be soon. It can't get pushed much further. I think it has to happen soon, so we would expect to hear about that. The sort of the only thing I'll speculate on is the theming for the announcement is the next chapter, which I think to me sounds like, set 1 was the first chapter, and since then we've not really had any kind of
chapter.
reference to chapters, I think new beginning. I think this could be our first rotation coming with set 9.
Could
People
be,
have
yeah.
speculated for a while that, you know, the sets we've got now, 1 through 8, are sorted into 2 4-set blocks. The first was Ursula's story from set 1 through to
4.
1 to 4, and then 5 to 8 are Jafar's story. I think we could see set 1 through 4 rotate out. And
No Prince John anymore. Oh my
well,
gosh.
I think that my theory is, because of all the stuff around the marketing materials for Fabled, there are sort of, I can't remember if it's up still or if it was just something that was kind of on packaging that was shown at a trade show or something. But we know that set 9 is called Fabled, and there were multiple references to like retelling stories, or like the story, something, the materials made reference to something about stories from the past or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Enough to make me think that that set will have reprints in it. So
okay.
yeah, if you want my big bold guess, if I'm going to stick it on the line, I'm going to say set rotation 1 to 4 go out. 1 to 4 go out when set 9 comes in. So sets 5 through 9 will be legal. Set 9 will have core reprints in it, in addition to some new cards, so that we keep staples like Friends on the Other Side, Brawl. Some cards are like debatable, but there are some cards that I would say are pretty core for the balance of the game, like Be Prepared. And I think, yeah, that's my guess, is set rotation 9 contains reprints so that we keep cards like Be Prepared, Eternal.
If the rotation
Yeah.
would come, do you think there will be like a white format or an eternal format additionally? Like
I think there has to be.
Yeah.
You can't really just tell people their cards are worthless. As soon as you rotate cards out, you have to have a at least semi-supported Eternal format, and I think they'll probably recognize that. And my guess would be they will do that. And maybe then at big events like Worlds or Continentals, you could have mixed format. You could have 4 rounds of Wild, 4 rounds of Standard, sort of thing.
That was
which would be very cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you get at Magic Pro Tours with Limited. You play 3 rounds of Draft and then 4 or 5 rounds of Standard or whatever it is.
That's a new way of skill expression, I think. Yeah, that's
I think forcing people to master multiple formats at the same time is, again, like we were talking about being experts at different decks. It does take a massive amount of brain power to just have skills that transfer across formats, because tons of skill expression is just metagame knowledge and understanding of the most likely thing your opponent is to do on each turn. When you don't have perfect knowledge of their hand, it's understanding how their deck functions, understanding the cards that are currently played in the metagame, and that will vary completely across formats. You can't rely on the same things. So keeping all of that in your head is another big part of skill expression. We're pretty deep on guesswork here. None of this might happen. None of it might happen, but that's my guess. I think we're
that could be true.
I think it's getting to people don't like talking about rotation. It's uncomfortable for a lot of people because they've got a lot of cards that have the potential to become worthless. And I think a lot of people try to like wish it into not existing by saying there won't be a rotation. There will be at some point. It might not be now, but my gut says it's coming. This 4-set block cadence feels right. You probably don't want too many more sets than 8 at any one time in your rotating format, or things get too complicated. My gut says it's happening, and I reckon that the new format will be what we play our next DLCs in. We might get DLC dates. I think they'll be later in the year to accompany the new format. And if this all comes true, I want a big medal from you that says "World's Smartest Man."
Yeah, you get that. What
Thank
about
you.
online client? No online client.
Ooh,
I don't think so.
Now you're asking the real questions. I think we get it teased, and absolutely no suggestion that it's coming anytime soon.
Okay. If you're all right with that, then you can keep your Mickey Mouse.
Oh, okay, great.
I will see what we do then. Okay. Yeah, I think that wraps it up, right? Or do you have anything
Yeah.
else?
It's a long one today.
Long
But
one
hopefully
today.
it was good.
Sorry, people, we are not able to make our episode shorter, but I hope you don't mind it. Because the YouTube algorithm doesn't like that long episodes, but what can we do? Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. Till next time, and
Yep.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.